This is Let's Talk Business with your host, Marc Ebinger. Now, here's Marc.
Welcome back to the Let's Talk Business podcast. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk about the importance of simplifying your marketing strategy so that customers can quickly identify the value of the product or service. In studio with us today is Richard Garcia, a water treatment expert and the owner of Superior Water Softeners. Richard, good to have you in from New Orleans. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
You flew in just for the show.
I did. This trip was just for the show, and as always, I come in to go visit my my aunt who's in a nursing home, and family a lot of times do not step up to the plate and visit the loved ones.
They don't.
And I will say that for my family, there's just my sister and I that make an effort, to visit my aunt.
Well, you're a good nephew for that. I love that.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Marc Ebinger, the owner of Krukus Virtual Staffing, a company that recruits and staffs experienced overseas administrative assistants for insurance agents who need help with policy management, claims processing, and client communication. Now, if you're curious about the most common tasks that virtual assistants are doing for businesses, head over to the website at krukus.com and grab our list of the top 20 tasks that VAs are doing for businesses just like yours. The link is in the podcast description below.
And I am Heather Boehme, a certified business coach and owner of Onset Professional Development, where we help overwhelmed and burnt-out business owners gain control of their business through coaching, process mapping, and training.
It's always interesting when I ask businesses, because I do ask a lot if they have a coach.
You do.
And because it's like, if you're going to do something, you need to have that mentor, that somebody who can challenge you, somebody who can give you information that you're not necessarily thinking of, as a bit of accountability partner in that as well. So I definitely highly recommend, if you're trying to turn a business into a multi-million-dollar production, seems like you should probably take it seriously and have a coach, right? So
Absolutely.
Anyway, love what you're doing, and of course what you do for me and my business as well. A quick reminder to follow the Let's Talk Business podcast on all major podcast platforms and social media, where you can catch video versions of the show. You can get to everything easily from our website at satalkradio.com. I need to put my Google Business profile back up on my social media links. I actually updated my Google Business profile over the weekend, because now you can actually include your social media links on your GBP Google Business profile, which I didn't know that. And then, of course, posting content on that. I kind of ran into some problems. We talked about on the last show, things I've had in the past, but apparently there's some tips and tricks and things you can do to make sure that your content's getting up there. But I need to start posting on that profile. Do you keep up to date on your business profile?
No, I need to verify my Google Business profile through.
It's different now. You have to submit a
you
video.
have to submit a video now,
Right.
and that's what keeps tripping me up. So I'll do it this afternoon.
Less than 30 or less than 60
Less
seconds.
than 60 seconds. Yeah, he was talking about that
Oh, that's
last
right.
week on the thing. And then here is my office. So I've got to go and just tour here. Need to get some signage. I'll probably just put it up
Maybe
on one of those screens.
Show a shot of your EIN or something with that address on there too. He was talking about that. Watch the show back and you can get all those tips and insights.
There we go.
All right, awesome. Okay, so obviously having your business out there on social media and Google and all of that, super important. But simplifying your message is trickier than it sounds. It seems like, well, I know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to tell you what the deal is. And people don't always pick up that message. And this is something, Richard, that as long as I've known you, we've been talking about this kind of thing. And it's been interesting to watch the evolution of your delivery, your message. And I know you picked up some of that stuff from the folks that are, on the podcast or some of the hosts and stuff like that. So talk a little bit about that journey of what you're doing in your space to simplify that message, because it is a lot. There's a lot of information around water that you're super passionate about. But how are you looking at that and changing it? And testing it out on people, because that's a thing, right? It's always be testing your messaging out on somebody. I'm always practicing my stuff on people. But tell me about your journey to that, simplifying your marketing message.
Well, this is a really great question, or a subject matter that anybody who is in the business of selling needs to address for themselves. Because I realized a long time ago, even before I found you guys, that I was really talking too much during the sales opportunity process. And I couldn't figure out, to be quite honest, how to shut myself up. That's really hard to do when you love talking about your product. So the evolution of where I was at before I found Let's Talk Business and Mark and Heather was I was already at that point. I was trying to figure out a way to redesign my message. And so during this podcast process, you know, I believe I'm on my fourth podcast, and each one I believe I've gotten better and better at kind of shortening up my message through Heather. You've helped me out quite a bit. Mark, keeping me on track with my message. And so I, for Superior Water Softeners, came to the conclusion that I needed to find a way to break up A and B. A was my product and B was my conversation, because I had too much conversation going into the presentation of my product. So I created a new corporation to put a firewall between, with all due respect to myself, my mouth and my product. And I created WQ Resources, which stands for Water Quality Resources.
And what does Water Quality Resources do exactly?
Well, I brought on a partner, and I've mentioned this a couple of times now in the last couple of podcasts. And one of the things that I came to the conclusion when I did that is he bought into Superior Water Softeners. This is William Robertson, my partner. And I was trying to figure out how to present all my brain into the redesigning of Superior Water Softeners. And then I had this epiphany of what I was trying to actually push into Superior Water Softeners in a redesign was my intellectual property. And I decided that what I was going to do was create a different entity that would amass by categorizing all types of water treatment, technology, conversations, resources, and then push what I felt needed to be pushed through the design of my website and a webmaster over into Superior Water Softeners and keep the conversation limited to a certain segment of information.
You know what's funny? That's the exact technique they use to construct AI bots.
Really?
They gather a bunch of information, and then AI is like the world's best library search. Have you started inputting all of that information into AI?
I have. In the pre-conversation, the pre-meeting that we have, the Zoom meeting, that's one of the things I brought up was the AI portion of the AI conversation. And so I would imagine we are eventually going to get there. Mm-hmm. And if you just ask the right questions to Google, it'll give you all the answers. And so I'm pulling information from all parts of the world when it comes to water treatment, how water gets dirty, how it can be cleaned. Now, this is going into WQ Resources.
So that's the thing, though. Like, what I'm hearing is it would be fantastic for an independent study on water and water cleaning. But how is that translated into a simplified marketing message, like Nike's Just Do It?
That is
Just drink it.
Just drink it.
That's a great question, and it's actually happening because as we're putting this into a performa, and that's the way I'm going to, just like if you were to have a spreadsheet, we're categorizing everything and making it so that it is in layman's terms where you'll be able to come into the site, even on WQ Resources, and if you know the keyword, you can put in the keyword, and it'll bring you up the ability to select from different categories, including pricing, value, how do I remove.
So
Yes.
I understand it as a resource, but marketing is the pull, right? Like how you get people interested. So how do people get interested in WQ Resources?
That question I haven't 100% truly figured out, but I do know it's coming. It's going to be made so that anybody can access it, including my competition. I'm about clean water. It's not about hiding my secret. It's about making sure that everybody has access to clean water and the information on how to understand what's being offered to you on how to clean water. Because there's so many gimmicks out there that, there's companies out there selling a water treatment solution for $400 all the way up to $10,000. And what is the minutia in the middle? I mean, what is really being presented to the consumer? Because we all want to call the same product the same name, but they're not all the same.
So this is something that I've learned a little bit about AI, in that what I'm thinking is that develop a chat around this topic that you own, right? It's your educational material that's getting put into this.
Right.
It's your database. And that simply is a plug-in to the Superior Water Softeners website,
Right.
that they pay WQ Resources for, but it's a chat that delivers accurate information in layman's terms to help people get basic questions answered. Because that's where, in my opinion, that's where they're going to ask. They're on the water softener website and they see something about the value of getting the water softener designed in a specific way so that it operates in a specific fashion to stay cleaner, right? Which is a conversation we've already had. So when they see that and they're like, well, I don't really understand that, they can ask the chat, explain why this needs to be situated this way and what the benefit is to me. Then that chat can give it to them based on the information that you've put in there. That's how I see that could be a really good, basically it's an API plugin that you would sell. And then you can sell that same database of information to other people that are going to want to use your technology or your services. That's how I see it. But to me, to answer your question, as far as where they're going to see the need for that, it's going to be on the website. That's what I see.
Well, see, I'm thinking more from like the general population to the website. You know the disc profiles?
Yeah.
Have you ever gone through them? So like Mark's a high I. I'm a high I, high D. What are you?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. Whatever the term would be for a specialist of a particular category.
Okay, so you're like an SC probably.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. All of this, like high I's, high D's, minutia, don't really care super much about it. So it seems like that's designed for the S and C's. So are you really going for that type of person who really, really wants all the information? Or are you going to have a more truncated version for the D's and the I's out there who only want the bullet points?
Well, what I have really found is that there's a lot of intellectual people out there that are trying to get information off the internet on what's being offered. And when they call us and we get into the house for a particular appointment, we literally have to break down what their expectations of the meeting really is going to be about. Because what they're talking about is they want to know about a water softener. Okay? And so we ask them. So, and I actually came up with this concept. So I asked this question in the house, in home, from 0 to 100%, if you were able to get just a water softener, to what extent are you cleaning your water? From 0 to 100%. And some people will say 25, 30, 40%. And then I'll say, well, would you be surprised if I tell you if you only got a water softener, it would be only 10%?
Oh, I was at 0.
Yeah, it's only going to clean out the rock out of the water. So then, I go on and to about 2 or 3 other questions, and people are amazed when I tell them, we want to help you understand what's in your water, and every area is different. City of New Braunfels is different, New Orleans is different, South Dakota is different. There's all types of different contaminants that are in the water at different areas of the United States or the world. So what we do when we go in is we break down that expectation of what they think they're looking for. They have ABC they want to ask. Well, we get them to actually change their ABCs in questions and then offer them information and then let them reformulate their questions based off what we have presented to them so that they can understand now what they should be asking.
Yeah, see, that's back to AI. I think AI can really do that. But if you haven't looked at developing an AI chatbot for your website, that's, to me, you can put so much data. And then if they're in North Dakota and they want to know whatever, I don't even know a town in North Dakota, but if they're in ABC town in North Dakota and they want to know what their stuff is, it's like if you can aggregate that data for them.
You're absolutely right. Because let me give you all a little surprise, because I've kind of have been evading the answer. I would say right now, per category that I decide to go down a rabbit hole in, I create the question and I ask AI. AI opens up Pandora's box. It gives me 100 other questions that I want to ask. So then I start building my portfolio of information to hand the web. Now everything, I have citations, I have names, I have, I don't alter PDFs, but I literally will download 30 or 40 documents for my webmaster and I write papers. So I come up with a PDF, I research it, make sure it rhymes and matches what I know about that particular contaminant, and then how we can clean that out. What are the different levels that you can address this subject matter? Because what a lot of people don't realize, what's in the water could be causing a health effect. Now, remember the last time I said I'm not a doctor, not an attorney. I'm a licensed water treatment professional. And so when I present a solution in the home, I want to make sure that whatever we're presenting matches up to what I have been taught and what I have researched. And then I encourage the customer to go above.
That's
further.
why you have to create your own chat.
Yeah, and I'm going to.
Because it's not, otherwise it's just information that's out there. You
Right.
want your information be where they're sourcing the answers from.
Right.
Have you ever thought about being like an expert witness on water
That
for
would
like
be
court cases?
That would be scary. I'm not sure I would want to go to that level, but I mean, I sometimes feel.
You're doing expert witness level research, I would imagine.
Right. So, I mean, I believe my flag is being carried far and wide. I don't know whether I mentioned it the last show, but recently I had a gentleman from Africa that I met at my daughter's master's graduation in Bowling Green, Ohio. We talked a little bit. He grabbed my information. He was living in Houston. He is somewhat educated and is one of the main individuals in his village that has brought electricity, water, all types of things that are needed in Africa. He approached me and asked me to mentor him. So along the process, he decided that he was going to join the United States Navy. And I said, great, but please tell me you're not doing that for me. In the end, he's asked me if I can figure out a way to help him figure out how to bring clean water to his village. And I'm going to have to figure that out.
It's a good challenge.
So, and consistent water, how do we get a well dug there? So I'll have to pull some resources together, but at the end of the day, if I have to build a mechanism such as AI for my website, I will do whatever I have to do. So it's a great question, and the answer is it's probably coming.
And you'd said something earlier about there being a big discrepancy in like the water softener industry, where some people sell it for $500, some people sell it for $10,000. So how prevalent is that in the industry? Because it reminds me of the pharmaceutical industry, where you got Mark Cuban only marking it up 30% in his pharmacy and everybody else marking it up like 500%.
Yeah, that's a question that is always on the table. I've had potential customers who have become customers say, look, why should I buy your water softener? At the point I was selling probably for about $4,300. Why should I buy your water softener for $4,300? I've bought one for $2,000. I've bought one for $6,000. You want $4,300. I can go down to the store and buy one for $800. Where is the value? I mean, I'm tired of doing this $5,000, $6,000, $10,000. In reality, every company, I don't care whether you're in water treatment or you're in a different business, you're going to set your price point. It's based off of cost of product, cost of operating expense, keeping the lights on, phones, and so on. It doesn't mean that, I'm not trying to knock any industry or any business, including mine. It doesn't mean that there is really a true value for the price that they're giving you. It's either going to be good value or bad value. And so in water treatment, you'll find companies that will charge you $7,000 or $8,000. And because your water line is on the wrong side of the garage compared to the water line being easily accessed on what we call the correct side, meaning the driveway side, so the outside wall of your garage, since they do not want to incur the labor, they'll actually talk you into putting a $10,000 or $8,000 water softener on the exterior of your house. Well, I mean, who in their right mind, well, I shouldn't say that because a lot of people get talked into this. So companies, because they're offering you a $7,000 product and they say it's a Mercedes-Benz, doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best product out there. You have to be able to understand what you're getting. We clean water so that it's just as good as the water I'm going to serve to my family. And the equipment is going to be the best that I can possibly put in your house so we don't have repetitive service calls. The medias that we use are the best, so they last longer and they clean more. Trihalomethanes, which are man-made carcinogenics. We want to use 10% cross-link resin standard all the time, so resin doesn't break down after 2 or 3 years. And then after you spent $6,000, you have to pay another $800 to rebed your water softener shortly after purchasing. So the question, Heather, is why the big, huge price differential between the bottom end and the top end? It really is based on, I know I've said it, the cost of doing business for a company and their value system within themselves on putting in the best versus putting in something for a lot of money that'll help pay their bills.
Well, that actually is a great point because as a business owner, I mean, it's not cheap to be in business. It's not easy to be in business. And generally, like, people tend to villainize business owners because it's like you're making money off people's back. So how much money is enough money? I mean, quality is important, but you could be making a lot more money just selling the softeners than by owning a water softener company and building WQ resources. So, like, where's that line end up?
Here's a great referral, or not a referral, return customer. We sold a system to a customer. I think he put a review out there. I think it was 16 years ago. This is after I made the switch from realizing I was putting in not the best quality water softener at the time. But even though I wasn't putting in the best, I answered the phone. Every time that system would break down, I answered the phone. Service is king. If you build your reputation on answering the phone and making sure that the value is always there to that end customer, even if it wasn't the best, you're going to be king. The customer's going to come back to you. So after 16 years of never hearing from this customer after we put in a brand new system, his system finally died. He called us up. I answered the phone. He was surprised. So we go out there. By the time we're done, and we help them understand that what we sold them a long time ago, when we can fix it, we can rebuild it, but you're going to end up having, your warranty is expired, so you're going to have a 1-year warranty on service now instead of having a 10-year warranty, because that's what we offer on everything, not just the valve head or 5 years for the tank or 3 years for the circuit board. We offer a 10-year comprehensive warranty for all our customers and our equipment. So we sold him another system. He put a review out there and said, after having a system for 16 years, happy with it. I'm proud. I want to say he said, I'm so happy to buy another system from Superior Water Softeners because I didn't have any problems with their equipment from the day we bought it, and this one died. We're going to buy another one. When we installed it, that was a review. And it's not verbatim, but that was one of the best reviews we have received.
Well, and reviews are fantastic, and they'll get you repeat business, but they don't put food on the table. So when it comes to fair market value, because first thing I learned in real estate was market value is the amount a willing and able buyer is going to pay for a home. So what do you think that fair market value is for your service plus the product?
I would say I can't answer it for the entire industry, but I can say for us, our price points start for a complete package at about $6,500. Being very upfront. People ask that before we make an appointment, but that's not your price. We have discounts. We have Wounded Warrior discounts. We have repetitive business discounts. If you're paying with a check and you're not financing or using a credit card, we give you another discount. Where when I was trained in the industry, I was trained to price at this point, and if you had A+ credit and you didn't need financing, you didn't offer any discounts. So we're the only company that I know of that we have a starting point so that we can show our numbers across the board. Everybody in our industry right now is priced about that level. If you're being charged less or being quoted less, $2,000 is a good number right now that's going around, or $9,900 closeout sell. You buy what you're going to get. I mean, so I would say, for the most part, anywhere between $400 and $6,500 is where most companies right now start, and we try to find a way to come down off that price by adding value-added services. Or you're going to look at it as for yearly service. Are you ex-military or a first responder? Are you a teacher, senior citizen? We try to find ways to throw some discounts in there to lessen the end price tag. That's how we bring value.
And as your business grew, you brought on a partner. And so it's obviously one thing to be selling and making money just individually, but when you bring on a partner, there's a whole different structure that comes in. So what did the finances look like when you brought your partner on? From a vague perspective, obviously you don't need to know exact change numbers, but how did that go?
Another great question. Before I brought on my partner, I was in business for 17 years. I don't want to say that I became a multimillionaire or even a millionaire, but I had put enough money into savings. And so I, for the most part, do not take a paycheck. All my money that I make right now is to set up the structure for my business to continue to grow. So my partner is the one that I take care of, first and foremost. And everything else that I may make goes into the quality of product and making sure the stability of the company stays there so that we're a viable option. We're not going anywhere. We've every year since I've been in business, we have grown and we continue to grow. Customer is first.
So that's the thing. You're reinvesting your money.
I'm reinvesting money.
To what end?
For me, anything that I would make, not profits of the company. So whatever I would pay me goes back into the company.
But you do take profit.
Right. So So out of the profit level, let's say that we're going to make, I'm making a number up here. So let's say that this year my profit is $200,000 and I'm going to pay myself $50,000. $50,000 goes back into the company. I don't take a penny right now. I'm growing the company. I've put enough money away where I can do that.
But you're growing the company to what end? Like, what's the end goal of the growth?
The end goal is, okay, I'll say it.
Impact.
Is to become the number one name in San Antonio and make sure that we can effectually keep more and more people from going out there and buying 7, 8, 10,000, even $5,000 is even too much. We are a reasonably priced company. I'm not going to say that we do not get there. We just did the last show. I mentioned that we had a well customer call us, horrible water. We charged him a lot of money, and then explained to him why we were quoting that. And true to fact, thank God that I did price it that way, because not only did the install go well, but we had several hiccups that were not our fault, and it was all driven by product being delivered damaged, or quite honestly damaged. When you do a well job, so many things can go wrong, and we had to give the customer a discount to make sure that he realizes that we understood his concerns about the job taking longer than it was supposed to. So at the end of the day, we're in business to make money. We're not in business to gouge customers or poke them in the eyes on price and then walk away with a lot of money and not answer the phone when it comes to service.
What does that mean to be the number one name? How will you know when you have accomplished that?
I would say when our phone is ringing as much as some of the companies that I had worked for. There's a lot of money in water treatment. There really is. Unfortunately, most companies care more about the money than they are into putting quality infrastructure in place to make sure the customer is happy. We've been in business, again, going on 18 years, 5-star review level since the day we opened our doors. Have we had problems? Yes. Do they turn into bringing us down to a 4-star or 3-star, type category company when they Google us? No, we're a 5-star company. And that's because we run to our problems. We don't shy away from them, and we make sure everybody's happy at the end of the day.
I mean, building a quality business around a passion project, you're putting your customers first, which is easy to say, harder to do that. Obviously, you're positioned well so that you can invest that money back into the business to grow it without gouging people. People will pay for quality, though. If they understand quality, they'll pay more for it, knowing that they're not going to have to replace it for 15 years or whatever else, and that you're going to service it on a regular basis, keep an eye on what's going on so that they know they've got a quality product that's not going to end up with resin all in their plumbing and destroy their household plumbing that they got to spend $20,000 on getting redone. So those are all value adds. I see that, very, very important. Back to simplifying the message, though.
So remember when we were kids and it was time to go outside and play and it was raining, or, you wanted to go, you had a little river or stream next to the house somewhere. I mean, I'd love to go play in the water. I mean, swimming pool, playing in the rain, as long as there was no lightning. And even then, sometimes there too. I love what I do. I have such a passion for cleaning water. And all I can say is I work in an industry where I can play in water. I can literally put my hands in the water and love what I'm doing. And that is something that I'm blessed with every single day.
So it reminds me of love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life.
I feel that way.
Except I hear the opposite advice, which is do what you're good at and have what you love as a hobby. So in 17 years in business, no matter what their ups and downs, was there ever a down? And what did that feel look like? And how did you pull yourself out of it?
Water, I think, kind of saved me. I get asked all the time, it's a leading question. They say, you're successful at what you do. How did you figure out that it was water treatment? How did you do that? I said, listen, I kind of stumbled into it. I really did. But in order to become successful in any business, you have to actually measure the possibility of whether that's a viable business to be in. And so when people ask me, should I get into my own niche, I say you should do a self-analysis. Go out there and find out how many of those businesses or types of businesses are in your market that you want to work in or start a business. For me, I realized quickly when I was in a sales position only, not even a business owner position, that I was working in an industry that had 150% market penetration. It sounds like an awful word. So what I mean by that is every home, every hotel, every business is a potential customer because every one of those places needs water. And so I figured out quickly that every door I went into was up to me to walk away with a business because they need water and they want clean water.
Are you telling me you've never been burnt out and over the water softener industry?
Never. Since the day I got into the water treatment business, I have loved what I do.
Now, you have been frustrated with it and felt like that there was some bad stuff going on there,
Yeah.
which, you challenged yourself. I remember the stories, right?
Right.
You're challenging yourself on, trying to really solve the problem, bring a superior product, which is why it's superior water. That's been a challenge of yours, but not in a negative way, not in a defeated way, or the industry that, or at least what you bring to the industry is bad. What you bring it to the industry is good, and that's the problem-solving mechanic that you're using. And this is where we end up with WQ Resources because you're like, I need to sell it, but we also need to have an education component without overloading your potential client. And that's where, simplifying a message for the client, say it's a hotel, right? How do you, what's the message for the hotel that says in very quick order, this is the advantage to having this so that you're going to save money and you're going to provide a better experience for your folks that are visiting. You know what I mean? Those are the challenges that you have to do on your messaging.
100%, because actually every potential customer has a different need. Hotels have a total different need than a residential homeowner. A regular business, meaning somebody that might have 10 employees, 20 employees, they have a different need. Apartment complexes have a different need. So along the line there, as you just mentioned, in order to be able to present yourself to each one of those without losing the opportunity, you have to understand the need and how to present yourself and be ready to answer their questions and their price points. So as far as what you just said, I have been frustrated. And the frustration came really to me in a manner that I wasn't really ready for. When I discovered how dirty water treatment devices got internally, I couldn't figure out how to shorten the message up, how to convey that message to the consumer, because I used to be literally 100% closer. If I went in the door, I walked out with an order. But when I found out how nasty the pieces of equipment were getting internally, when I started talking about that to the consumer, immediately my sales went from 100% closer to 50 to 40 to 30. I was losing money just as a sales rep, let alone then going in and starting my own business. So I had to figure out a way to repackage the message. I mean, I don't know if you. I learned a lot of things from watching TV and listening to music. West Wing, that sitcom. Well, they always are having to redevelop the message. Framing. And so, Mark, you're a police officer. Was. Yeah. Heather, you're a trainer. So I listen to people with really big elephant ears, and I filter through a lot of things so that I can figure out how I can, and ideas come at me left and right. I'm a really great filter of ideas to find out how I can best use some of these great messages that you guys have so I can tailor my message. Does that make sense?
Yes, in a sales capacity, though. I think that's the biggest thing is
Well,
like
even in product presentation. Yeah.
product presentation, sales, you are fantastic at adapting yourself to the push that is sales, of conveying the right message to the right audience when you are in front of them and you are talking to them. But marketing is not a push, it's a pull. And I think that's what Marc is trying to get at. And what I still want to know is like, marketing has to be that simplified message that pulls in the right people for you to push over the sales edge. And like, what do they say now? The riches are in the niches. So what is that niche that you are going after that you can really hone in? Because like if you're going toward like, there's a whole movement about mold poisoning. Like you've got mold poisoning. If you were going after people who are worried that they're suffering from mold poisoning, that would be a niche. And you could say, you know, clean water doesn't have mold. And that could be you're in for those people. Like, what is that simplified message of, like, I'm going after and it doesn't have to just be one, but you have to broader target and before you can start to hone in on the singular. So, like, how are you? Because you are fantastic at sales. Is your partner the guy that goes out and pulls and then you push, or are you going out with the whole message of water EQ?
He is on the marketing or sales presentation side. He's come a long ways. I'm actually helping as I define the message. He asks a lot of questions or listens to me quite a bit, and then goes in to a potential sales opportunity. I hate using that word, but it is what it is, right? And he's gotten better at closing business. And even though I hate losing business opportunities, I'm letting him go more and more. And even though we sometimes lose some, that helps him rehone himself and get better at doing presentations. But I would say the overall method of the way that we build our model is exit interviews. So even if we lose an opportunity, I will have a follow-up conversation with customers.
But that's still one-on-one, right?
No, because when you take 1 + 2 + 3 + 4, you can start defining where you are consistently not delivering the message correctly.
Yeah, but she's saying you're doing these on a one-at-a-time messaging, right? Through those conversations.
That's the big thing. If I gave you 100 people and you knew that there were 20 people within the 100, but you can't talk to each of them individually, you have to pull those 20 people out of the crowd of 100 by saying 3 sentences. How are you going to pull the right 20 people out of that 100 crowd?
That's a good question.
Because that's the simplified marketing message.
Yeah, I like the way she thinks. She's thinking in groups rather than individuals because, I mean, we just don't have time to go individually.
Well, that's the thing. If we lined up 100 people and you got to talk to 100 people individually, you'd probably sell 100 water softeners or at least 80 to anybody who could afford them. But if that's not an option, because it's not, because there's the whole world, and if you want to be the biggest name in San Antonio, which you do, you need to talk to all of San Antonio and pull the most amount of people who resonate with your one message to you. They have to come to you, not the other way around.
Yeah, you got to refine that message, especially if it's around something that is hot button topic. Like if you're talking about mold in the water is causing the whatevers, if you understand that and it's a message that, hey, KTSA or KSAT 12 or KMOL wants to get you on because they want to talk about this
or
thing.
Or even the med spas, like we're a bunch of people who are very holistic, health conscious, very, very conscious about their environment, about the things they put into their body. Like that would be a great group of people to try to target in a group of 100. You know, who here is super conscious of what they put into their body to create their highest level of health? Boom. Because I know my husband would not be one of those 20 people, right? But Mark probably would.
Yeah, Mark's very concerned about water.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. It's like even so plunging right now is a whole thing, right? You're doing the
cold plunge,
the cold
yeah.
plunge. Yeah, I love that, and I'm looking at okay, well, what would that look like? But the thing is, you get a cold plunge, you fill it full of water, and then you got to filter the water, and then there's chemicals that go in, and I'm like, I don't really want that. I don't want to dip my body into a bunch of chemicals every morning to get my day started. I don't like that. But you can't just fill it up every day too, you know what I mean? And then cool it off and the whole thing. So water's important. And those people are going to be out there. And I thought the med spa, I mean, that's brilliant right there. I mean, if you've got a message around that and you start hitting the franchise level, which you start connecting with franchise brokers or reach out to however you can get in front of franchises, because franchises all talk to each other.
Come from the med spas if they're giving them a nutritionists too, because nutrition, it's your food and your water, right? And if you already care enough to go to a nutritionist, because I'll be honest, I've never gone to a nutritionist in my entire life, which is crazy, right? When you think about it. But the people who care enough are usually a little bit older, a little bit higher on the income scale, right? Because they can afford to go to a nutritionist who's not usually covered by insurance. And bada bing, bada boom, water is it's the absolute essential.
Let me just ask you this. So if you could pick your ideal client, I'm going to suppose it's someone like myself who cares about water, right? And would spend the money on good quality water. But what is your ideal client? Is it that person who truly cares about the quality of the water, or is it just somebody who needs a water softener? Where are you at on that scale?
Well, I would say a lot of it starts with people concerned about the aesthetic looks of what happens to their fixtures, their glass shower doors, the rock in the water, the limestone causes an eyesore that goes on inside of a home, and that's what really initiates the first phone call. Somebody who's concerned about keeping their home clean, they're tired of the scale, things of that sort. Up until we got into business, Superior Water Softeners, nobody really talked to the consumer that I know of the way that we do about what's in the water. Everything was just about the rock in the water. Companies were selling carbon filtration systems, not even carbon filtration systems that would clean out a minimum of contaminants at 3.5 gallons of water per minute. They would put in a little sack of carbon. I want to say a gallon sack of carbon.
But Richard, what you're doing is you're identifying how a customer ends up in front of you.
What you're asking, how does the subject start?
No, we're
what I'm
asking
saying
what
is,
your ideal would be.
if you could pick, what is it that the person, your ideal client, truly cares about?
I would say that the ideal customer for us is somebody who cares about their health, Heather, what they're consuming. The bottled water industry is one of the leading industries in the United States right now. Tons of bottled water get sold. So people are concerned about what they're drinking, what they're eating. They're concerned about their budget for their household budget. So if their water is damaging, and they come to understand that their water is causing them to replace their water heater or their dishwasher or buy more soaps, lotions, and cleansers. So somebody who is educated enough to know that they have a problem, either with health or things that are going wrong in the house, budget-wise even, those folks that are trying to educate themselves on what to do end up picking up the phone or start Googling, using their name now, right? So getting online and trying to find answers to their problems. And then many of the resources that are out there now with AI, you ask the right questions, it points them towards water treatment.
Well, see, that's the thing. Maybe instead of them having to ask the right questions, it's more of because I went on one coach's website and it was what kind of money personality do you have? And it was how do you generally like to spend your money? A, B, C, D. And I just took a multiple choice quiz and it told me like the type of money personality I have. So maybe you could have one, but for like, is your water killing you? Something like that, where it's like, do you feel like slimy when you get out of the shower? Like things like that would indicate that their water softener is not doing the job it needs to, which would naturally lead them to you and your resources. It's more of like a directed, because most people, I would guess, I would probably bet money on this, the majority of the American population doesn't think about it too much. There's a small population that does, and those are the people that are usually hearing about it from nutritionists and med spas and stuff. But majority of the population's like, it's water.
Yeah, based on my industry report, San Antonio is one of the leading areas where they're concerned about the water. And so, they're very active, mainly because of the push of the water treatment industry about limestone and the way that it affects health and home. And so people have an awakening here, and there's a lot of it's a booming industry for the water treatment business here.
Oh yeah. Like, do you have calcium rings on your dishwasher? Yes, no, yes. Do you feel slimy after you shower? Yes, no, yes. And they just go through, and at the end it's like, your answers indicate that your water softener is producing a biofilm rather than actually softening your water. Click here to schedule an appointment with an expert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good idea, is trying to figure, let the customers identify themselves and then tell you what they're interested in hearing about. And then that's where your WQ resources could plug right into.
Well, I can turn this portion of the conversation over to my webmaster marketing guy, and get him to start developing some type of platform like that so we can push out there. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a test.
Have you seen Zootopia? Have you guys seen Zootopia? Obviously, I have.
Probably.
She's like, were all of the mammals affected predators? Yes, like obvious answers. So you just say the question, then you answer. That's it.
Yeah. Let them walk themselves right into it. But I think gathering important data on how you're going to message to them, it would be important.
Yeah, it provides the validity of why your result was your result, right?
You're a candidate to talk about water treatment. Click here.
Yeah, book your appointment, your free consult. All right, Richard. If folks want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
SuperiorWaterSofteners.com, swsofteners.com, or they can call us at 210-792-0962.
All right, love it. Well, thanks for coming in again. I appreciate that. I always like talking about water. I think, Heather, the standout point for me was these health spa things. It's like,
did you still like it that I'm aggressive? Well, he came into this being like, I like how aggressive you are.
Look, I have gone and looked for that business. The problem is what budget do a lot of companies have to enhance the product or the delivery of their product to their consumer? Water treatment is little known fact here for beauticians. Beauticians do not really care for water softeners. Some of them do. I don't want to categorize all of them into the same pot, but the reason that they don't is water softeners make your hair real soft, and it's hard to style softened hair.
Well, that's the thing, though. I would not want to sell it to the med spa. Like, if they did buy it, super great. I'd want them to promote their customers to get it, because it's a health benefit to the customers.
And with that, Mark, turn it back over to you.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm always looking for ways to expand business through partnerships, through strategic alliances. So I think that's something worth looking at. All right, as we wrap the show, quick reminder, check out our latest podcast and catch video version of the show anytime by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. That's going to be it for this one. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you on the next one.